Hello there, welcome back to the channel. My name is Stephon Love, and today I'm going to be giving some quick thoughts on week 2 of college football. Alright, the first game I want to talk about is the Iowa State game, the Cyhawk series, also known as El Assico to some people, making a mockery of El Clasico. This was a very decent game. At first, I thought Iowa State was just gonna dominate because Iowa just could not move the ball, and Iowa State was moving the ball. However, the Iowa defense was making stops in the red zone. So, like in a game where it looked like it will probably be like 14-0, 17-0, it ended up being like 6-0 or 10-0. I think the halftime score was 10-3, I believe. I'm not sure. I don't remember the halftime score. But all around, this was a decent game, and I believe there's two stats. One stat is for 5 years, the last 5 years, the road team has won the game, and I don't remember the stat, but I think the last 8 games, or maybe it's less. I honestly don't remember. But this game, this rivalry game, has had the last like few results was decided by 4 points or less. And that streak extends while the home team losing streak ends with Iowa State, of course. They were the home team today, and they got the victory. So, shout out to Iowa State. The next game I want to talk about is Texas and San Jose State. Arch Manning. Shout out to Arch Manning. I know I posted a video on Shorts and TikTok, and there's a lot of people calling me out for saying that the receiver was the person who ran the wrong route. And if you look back at it, yes, it was, but I'm watching like 3 games at once. So like I see on my computer screen that that Arch Manning's going deep, and it looks like the corner is actually the receiver. So you know what? Shout out to Arch. And speaking of Arch, and the Texas offense for that. The Arch and the Texas offense got off to a shaky start. The first 2 drives, I don't think they recorded a first down. But after that, they finally got into a groove. I believe they had like a long touchdown pass that went for like 60 yards. And after that, the team just started to get into a flow, and they played San Jose State how a typical Power 5, especially one of the best schools in the country, are supposed to play a G5 team. So Texas gets the win. So shout out to the Longhorns. Next, let's talk about Illinois versus Duke. Now, the final score in this game was 45-19. This did not look like a 45-19 type of game. At least the first half. Duke played like they were the better team. Which why like I think I tuned out of this game like midway through the third quarter. But it just didn't. So like hold on. So when I went back looked back at the scoreboard and I saw it was 45-19, I'm like, there's no way. There's just no way. And if you look at the box score, you even say it again, like there's no way Duke lost this game by 26 points. However, the reason they lost was just turnovers. If you just took, let's say, mm, let's say if they score a touchdown on 3 turnovers, this is a 45-40 game, which will be a much more respectable score. But hey, it is what it is. It's football. Illinois does not look like a. I think they're ranked number 13th in the country. I believe they don't look like a number 13th. They don't look like the number 13th team in the nation. However, this is college football. A lot of teams didn't look like they were deserving of their rank during this Saturday. So who knows? So shout out to Illinois for getting the victory. Correction, they're ranked number 11th in the country. The border war is back, and it was great. Kansas, Missouri, they put on a classic. Final score was 42-31, so it was a double digit victory, but it was still a great game. Now, at first, I kind of thought Kansas they were gonna show up Missouri. Like they Missouri scored the first touchdown, and then after that, Kansas they blocked the field goal 6-0, and after that they scored 21 unanswered points. I was like, oh crap! Especially everything that was going on today, it didn't look like it was gonna be a good day for Southern teams. However, after that, the second quarter started, and Missouri just turned it around. I believe they scored like 15 points in the second quarter to tie the game, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe Kansas still had a 24-21 lead. I'm not sure. I forgot. But so far, that second half started. It was a good game. I ended up missing a lot of the second half because I had to go somewhere, but I was still listening to the game on my phone. And, it was just a very good game. So shout out to Missouri for getting the dub. And hopefully, just hopefully, especially with the SEC mandate that they're going to move to 9 conference games, and they're also going to require their teams to play one Power 4 opponent out of conference. Hopefully, they can make this an annual game. Who knows? I doubt it, but a man can dream. All right, let's talk about this. Oregon, Oklahoma State. I've made 2 videos about this game on YouTube Shorts and TikTok. One video of me was just me being very flabbergasted, and the other video was just me picking fun of the situation. Because, like, what do you mean you as Oklahoma State lost to Oregon 69-3? Yes, Oregon is the number 6 team in the country. Yes, they have a significantly better roster than you. Yes, Oklahoma State, you don't have much NIL, and Oregon literally has Nike money. But at the end of the day, you are a Power 4 school, and you lost 69-3. Oklahoma State was a school just very few years ago. They were competing for the Big 12 championship. And even before that, there was a time they were like the second most feared team in the Big 12. And they've just fallen off like that. So, I don't have much to say. Shout out for Oregon. They got, and this was an impressive W for them. Hopefully, they can keep this momentum going for the season. And Oklahoma State, maybe it's time to move on from Mike Gundy. And the reason I just say maybe is because who do you replace him with? Because Mike Gundy might be your best choice at head coach for the program, given that if they aren't having much, Mike Gundy might be the best choice for them because Oklahoma State, they have not been great over the past few years, and who's to say they'll be great again under a new head coach other than Mike Gundy. So, anyways, those are my thoughts on that game. We had an almost near upset in Death Valley. Troy versus Clemson. Ironically enough, the last time I think Troy played Clemson, I believe, it was almost an upset. That was 2016, where like Clemson. I remember that game. That's when I was rooting for Clemson at the time. They had like a punt return call back because the player didn't cross the goal line. He did one of those drop the ball at the one type of celebrations. But yeah, I only, much like the Missouri game, I only watched part of this game in the car because I was away. And Clemson, they were trailing 16-3, and the moral of the story was their offense. They just couldn't move the ball. This has been a thing since Trevor Lawrence left. This has been a thing since losing Tony Elliott to Virginia, and they just haven't been able to get the offenses of the past back. So for Clemson, I was kind of high on Clemson going into this year. I genuinely thought they could probably end this year as like a top 5 team. Because if you look at their schedule, they don't really have nobody other than South Carolina. To most people, South Carolina and LSU were going to be their toughest opponents. Now, I would throw Georgia Tech in that conversation, but hey, maybe Georgia Tech will start to get more respect as the season go on. And I think Clemson plays Georgia Tech next week. So we're going to see how Georgia Tech really is. Am I right about them, or is the country right about them for not giving them any respect? So that is my thoughts on Clemson. They did end up coming back and winning that game 27-16. And let's talk about the biggest upset of today, USF versus Florida. First off, shout out to USF. USF actually plays Miami next week, so that's going to be an interesting game. But we're talking about USF Florida this week. I honestly thought Florida was going to win this game. I thought this was one of those trap games where the big team pulls away. Much like Clemson and Troy, USF was winning for, I think, most of the game. They were up by like 15-9 at one point. But then Florida got the touchdown, and I said to myself, well, they're going to hold on and whatnot. But penalties came back and bite them in the ass. The defender had like an unsportsmanlike conduct for spitting on a USF player, and that they gave him a 15-yard penalty to boost that drive, and USF just ran the ball down their throats when they got to the goal line and attempted the game-winning field goal, and they upset the Gators in the swamp. And apparently after the game, the fans were just throwing trash on the field, which is, no matter how you feel about the result of the game, you don't need to throw shit on the field, all right? Maybe that's a hot take. But, yeah, USF, they probably are wrapping up that G5 bid. I'm not going to get ahead of myself because this is college football. It's any given Saturday. But right now, they're the leading favorite for that G5 bid. As for Florida, I'm glad I didn't buy into the hype for Florida. Because part of me was like, maybe, just maybe, Florida might be a CFP sleeper. And they may still very well. This is only one loss for them. And who knows, USF might be one of the... This UFC loss, this USF loss might come back and help them if they're like if Florida finished the year like 10-2 or 9-3, and they're contending for that final bid in the CFP. So, anyways, shout out to USF. All right, this isn't really a game review, but more so a quarterback review. Colorado, they played Delaware in a game where they won 31-7, pretty much expected. But the story of this game was they had a quarterback competition. Caden Salters, Juju Lewis, I believe his name is. Juju. Let's see what his name is. Julian Lewis, and Ryan Staub. And it looks like going forward, Ryan Staub may be the starting quarterback for Colorado. He had the best box scores. People say he had the better performance. And when it comes to Caden Salters, who was the starting quarterback for Colorado, he just wasn't very efficient. Where like he would pass on plays where he should have run, while the offense just looked way more efficient under Ryan Staub. Julian Lewis, on the other hand, he doesn't need to play this year because he's a freshman. Like, you don't need to throw a freshman out there. You could just let them sit and learn, especially with the way college football is going, where like we're seeing some quarterbacks. Well, maybe I should hold my tone there because we have seen two quarterbacks in the past go to the league after like 1 year playing experience. But we've seen a lot of quarterbacks tend to stay in college now. Probably because of they didn't really have opportunities, and the time they get opportunities is like in their 4th and 5th year. And the NIL money is good. So, anyways, those are just my thoughts on like the mini QB competition that Colorado just had. Next, on Saturday Night Football, we had Oklahoma versus Michigan. And for the most part, Oklahoma controlled this game. Honestly, I think the score was 24-13. It probably should have been like 34-13, maybe 34-10. But other than Michigan having that 75-yard touchdown, this game did not look very good for Michigan. Like they had a couple of long drives. When they got to the red zone, they just didn't capitalize. And John Mateer, hey, I think Kirk Herbstreit said it. The guy he kind of he gives off Baker Mayfield vibes. Whether he becomes Baker Mayfield when the Heisman becomes the number one pick, I don't know. Maybe that's a lot to say. But other than that, Oklahoma, they look very good. This might be the first time I've been confident in Oklahoma since what? Maybe 2023? But 2023 they lost a couple of games. Yeah, I will say 2023. This is probably the first time I've been confident in Oklahoma since 2023. Now, granted, just like in 2023, they ended up losing like 2 more games and missing out on the Big 12 championship. They can lose 2 more games now because you can make the college football playoffs with like 2 or 3 losses. But yeah, Oklahoma, they look good in this game. Hopefully, they continue to look great because college football is great when teams like Oklahoma, Texas, Florida State, all these schools are good. So shout out to Oklahoma State. Shout out to Oklahoma, not Oklahoma State. You guys are terrible. Again, this is much like that Colorado review. Florida State looked great. They looked great. Granted, they played South Harmon Institute of Technology. That's completely understandable. They beat a team like that, how you're supposed to beat them. However, if this was last year's Florida State team, they would have won that game 35-0. They won this game, what was the score? 74 or 77-3. That offense looks significantly better from last year. And hey, I just said it. College football is great when Florida State is good. Florida State, hopefully they are legit. Hopefully this isn't just them beating up on weaker competition. Alabama just won 73-0. So maybe this is a great Florida State team. And it's kind of weird for Florida State because how often do teams go from 13-0, technically 13-1 because they lost their bowl game, to going to 10-10, 2-10 last year, and now potentially being on the verge of another 10-1 season. It's kind of weird. And right now, I'm seeing online people just making fun of DJ Uiagalelei. I think that's how you say his name. But anyways, yeah, shout out to the Seminoles of Florida State. And the last game I want to talk about is Mississippi State versus Arizona State. Man, was this the best game of the day? Maybe. Although I will say, I didn't watch it because I don't have the CW, but SMU and Baylor went to overtime. Baylor won 45. Oh, and Michigan State, Boston College went to overtime with Michigan State winning. Anyways, we're talking about Mississippi State and Arizona State. At first, I thought Mississippi State was just going to run away with it because it started looking like, hey, Arizona State, you're the number 12 team in the country. Are you kind of overrated here? Because they were down 17-0. But after that, Arizona State, they kind of turned it on. They turned into the team from last year, and they just started running the ball down the throats of Mississippi State. I believe on the drive where they took the lead, there was 10.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they ran the clock down all the way to 1 minute and 40 seconds left, where they unfortunately they had to settle for a field goal. And then Mississippi State, they got the ball back and they scored 5-6 plays later on a 50-yard touchdown catch. And they didn't kick the ball back to Arizona State, where Arizona State will inevitably throw the game-losing interception. So, shout out to Mississippi State. I think they have massively improved from last year. Now, granted, they were terrible last year, so massively improved may mean a 6 or 7 win game, 6 or 7 win season this year. In Arizona State, I was calling them overrated. Maybe they are still a bit overrated, but when I meant they were overrated, I was thinking, oh, they might not win 6 games this year. I think they could still very well win 6 games. And given how the Big 12 is, they may even make it back to the Big 12 championship. So, There it is. Shout out to Mississippi State. If you got this far in the video, I got two things to say. First off, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. But number two, and I think I'm going to probably make a short about this, I would like to say thank you to Tom Grassi and his fandom. I've been a fan of his for like 6 years, since 2019. And just thank you guys for like rating my channel. Like I was at 14 subscribers on prior to Friday night, and now I'm at 305. I was at 340, but like 35 people unsubscribed because they saw like, oh gosh, this guy's content is kind of terrible. Like, let me get away from him. Or maybe it was just bots, and YouTube was just doing their job getting rid of those bots. Honestly, I might think of the latter. It's the bots. Anyways, again, thank you. And also, I'm going to say it again. Please like, comment your thoughts on week 2 of college football, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.